Welcome to the USA, a place where babies having babies. The kids wondering where could their daddy be. Mom can't afford these brand name clothes. The other kids gonna laugh at me. I done seen hoop dream tragedies. Prepare for catastrophes. Formulate your own reality. Reverse the psychotic slave mentality. Young males are being sentenced in prison. Life's over before risk beginning. You don't have to be locked up to be in prison. You have free reign to choose good or evil. Don't let the lie vision mislead you. The politicians are so easy to see through. The true power lies in the people. I'ma move like a G move. Rest your temple, strengthen your mental. We all possess infinite potential. Stop the violence, don't let guns be the end of you. So many ways, y'all.
Joining conference now.
Life is beautiful.
This call is being recorded.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, look in the mirror. What do you see? Right. What do you see? What do you see? Yep. Look.
Conscious Black Business Network and its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of this site or radio station, and opinions between talk show hosts may conflict. Thank you for joining us.
It's the business of life, the business of love, the business of health, the business of wealth. It's the business of principle, the business of media, the business of conscious, the Black Business Network, the business of love, the business of health. The business of wealth. It's the business of principle, the business of media, the business of conscious, the Black Business Network, the business of love, the business of health, the business of
Imhotep family, and welcome to the Third Eye, Getting Out of the Matrix. Today we're having a special guest, and I'm doing quite a few shows on brothers that's working in the community, brothers that usually don't get the recognition around. So we're going to try to bring him around the world. And this young brother, he's a warrior. I call all my warriors. And what is your name, brother?
Imhotep Fatiu.
I can't hear you say. Say it again.
Imhotep Fatiu.
Imhotep Fatiu. This brother, he does a lot of work in the community. He's a self-taught scientific Pan-African practitioner. He is the founder of PLM and is co-founder and executive director of the Urban Youth Initiated Project and Company. In addition, he is also the co-founder and lead facilitator of the African Awareness of Critical Thinking study class. Huh?
Yes, sir.
I heard that. And he also is a community organization, a social reformer, an educator, and a self-described urban philosopher. I'm telling you, he has 20 years of experience working with our brothers and sisters in the African world. And this is his new book that he has out. This is his third edition, right?
Yes, the third.
The first two was also what?
Urban Philosophy, Thought and Behavior was the first. Urban Philosophy, Politics of Urban Struggle was the second. And the newest one, which will be officially released in next month, is Urban Philosophy, New African Revolutionary Vanguard.
Right. Okay. That's beautiful, brother. That's all right. So, okay, then let's check this out. First of all, let's find out a little bit about you and why do you have this passion for? It had to be writing. I know you have a passion for your people, but you doing a lot of writing. So check it out. What's up?
And it's unique because I do not actually have a passion for writing. My passion is for African people, but from working within the community and working with our people over the years and through study and analysis, I realized that much of the confusion that I witnessed within our community, when I mean by community, I'm speaking specifically about that body of individuals who claim to be conscious, African-centered, Pan-Africanists, revolutionary, wise, sharp, the ones who say I'm not deaf, dumb, and blind. I'm speaking about that body of individuals. I see so much confusion that's taking place amongst them. So I felt that I could do a great service by putting together some material that could aid one in developing his or her awareness about how to go about doing what we say we want to do in terms of ushering in sovereignty for our people.
Right. Okay, so that go along with I think I heard you say you're a hardcore PLM, meaning exactly no shortcuts, something like that. What do it mean, bro? Talk to me.
I believe that everything has to be 100% about Africa. So I say I'm a hardcore Pan-Africanist, wholehearted Pan-Africanist, because I believe that all that we need, our ancestors provided us with that. So if we take the time to study our ancestral ways and adopt those ways, then we can begin to move forward as a people.
Okay, 100%. That's all right. So, do you believe in separation?
Do I believe in separation? That's a great question. I believe that our primary focus should just be African people. If that means that we have to be somewhere by ourselves, and that's what we have to be somewhere by ourselves. I think that we should focus on us, though. So I tend not to use the terminology separation because my focus is not any other people. So I acknowledge that people exist within the world, but I'm not focused on them. I acknowledge that we have an enemy, and I make note of the enemy, and I prepare to deal with the enemy. But my primary focus is the progressive survival of African people by any means necessary.
Right. I understand that too, wholeheartedly. So do you believe in mixed marriages?
No. I believe Africans should marry Africans. 100%. African men should marry African women.
Right.
That's it.
That's simple. Okay. All right. That's cool.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
All right. Okay. In his words, what do that look like now? Why?
Because for one, marriage is about power.
Yes.
I know we don't always understand that as a people, but the two people come together to empower themselves so they can be something useful in terms of empowering the community. So every time one of us, whether it's an African woman marrying outside of the race or an African man marrying outside of the race, that's a fraction of our power that's being given to someone else, because it creates split loyalties, because now you're trying to find this neutral zone to walk in when it don't exist. Everything in this society is political. It's either you are for something or you are against it. There is no neutral zone. The enemy don't have neutral zones. So we create the neutral zones when we're trying to split our loyalties as a result of having chose a partner that's not compatible with us ethnically or culturally.
Okay. All right. I heard that. All right, now check this out. So what do you think about now? Let's go back in the past and in the back. Say for instance, Frederick Douglass. He was I think, did he marry a white woman? Plus his father was white also. Yeah. So that might give do that take anything away from that brother?
I think that if an African happens to have a European parent,
and then we got Paul Robeson. Yeah. That hurt my heart.
This is my take on it.
Right.
See, I know some strong Africans who have mixed parents, but they have chosen their Africanity, and they stand on their Africanity. Now, in terms of, because you have a mixed parent, if you choose outside that race, then I still think you're doing the wrong thing. Now, some might say, well, if his father is white, why can't he have a white woman? Or if his mother is white, why can't he have a white woman? If he chooses to be African, then it's his responsibility to perpetuate African. So therefore, the only way he can perpetuate African is by way of an African woman.
So how about Paul Robeson? He didn't have a white.
I don't think none of our brothers and sisters should have white women, right?
Do that change your opinion of him and his work, though?
No, that's my question. Because most of the leading Pan-Africanists that we follow had white women. C.L.R. James.
Is that right?
Yeah. Sylvester Williams, Frantz Fanon.
Right.
Most of them had white women. Wow. That's the reason why what I'm doing in my black book, I'm introducing scientific Pan-Africanism.
Yes.
because with scientific Pan-Africanism, I'm stating clearly that no longer can Pan-Africanists or folk that saying they African-centered have white women or white men. It has to come a point in time when we have to marry within. So we have to evolve. It don't take away from the work that they've done, right? Because as a people, whenever you're in war, you make mistakes. And it's the responsibility of each generation to examine the previous generation to look at those mistakes. So those were mistakes in terms of social and political and economic mistakes. But it don't take away from the work. So I know Frantz Fanon done excellent work. Right. So we can still learn from that. It don't take away from CLR Jane. He did excellent work. Right. But that does not give us an okay to say, well, because he had a white woman, then I should have a white woman. See, it comes a point in time when we got to stand on the shoulders and we got to evolve what they have been doing. Right. So now we're in a different era of time. And so we are ushering in something totally different. And the difference is that we have to be 100% African. I know that. We need African women or African men. Say it again. We need if we are African men, we need African women. Right. If it's an African woman, she needs an African man. Right. Right. I agree with you. Okay, now tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind. A little bit about me. A little bit, a whole lot. We got time. I'll say this. I am one of those individuals who commits himself to whatever he set out to do. So there was a point in time in my life when I was not on this path, but I was committed to doing what I was doing. And now that I'm on this path, I'm totally committed to it. And part of that commitment requires of me to forever assess the past and our history to learn from it. And so what history tells me, what it informs me, is that we as a people have to be the living embodiment of our ancestors. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, like I say, the nights are going to be popping. We're going to be getting down this young warriors, but we do have a call, and we want to take a call. Yes, take a call. Okay, we'll take a call. And ladies and gentlemen, you can call in on 410-989-5557 to speak to the brother. All right.
Okay, you have a few callers. All right. Caller last 4942. Please state your name, where you're calling from, and let's talk. Oh, looks like they hung up. All right. I guess they didn't. Caller calling from 1249. The last four is 1249. Please state your name, where you calling from. Let's talk.
Greetings, brother.
All right. Callers, please. Do you have a question, comment, or you just trying to listen through this meeting?
I was just listening, man.
All right, no problem.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
All right. I think that
that's it.
Hold on. I think they're back. Hold on. Caller last 4942. Please state your name, where you calling from. Let's talk. Oh, they must be just trying to listen. Every time I say that, they hang up.
Oh, okay.
All right, no problem.
Okay. All right. Okay, now, brother. Let's check this out. Okay. I agree with you wholeheartedly that our people are suffering from identity. Who they are, who they should be with, the type of social life that we should live. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So, let's go a little deeper in your life. I heard one time that you said that one of the first books you had was Superman the Man. Yes. Right. And that was a good book too. And this young man Dixon, right? Yes. Inspired you. Yes, Dixon was my inspiration. Speak on it. So yes, actually the book was given to me it was unique how it happened, because the guy that gave it to me was an older brother, older than me at the time. I was about 23. And he was a barber to me. He was in his 40s. And he asked me to do him a favor, and the favor was read the book. But I was already watching him, and I was kind of intrigued by him. So I would have did it anyway on the basis of that. But when I read the book, instantly I began to
think like, wow, I like what I'm reading. And it was about Dixon constantly in a debate with this white senator on a train. And the discussions was broad. They discussed many different things. And just to be able to read about how Dixon, as a black man, was able to represent himself, defend himself, and present the information in terms of the facts as it relate to African people was an inspiration.
Yeah.
So instantly, I wanted to be as Dixon.
Exactly.
And so I began to go to libraries. I began to go to the library and didn't know what I wanted to read, didn't know where to start. So what I did, I started with encyclopedias. So I started up picking up different encyclopedias, just reading different things. I went to the A section and looked up Africa, started reading about Africa and things like that. Then eventually, I left the encyclopedias alone. I just started reading any book that talked about Africa or African people, for that matter. And that was the beginning. And that was in 1992 for me.
Right. Okay. And you went down to the Pratt Library?
Well, I was incarcerated at the time.
Right.
I was serving. Right. I was serving 20 years.
Right. That's right.
When that occurred, so I went to the I went to the Penn Library. You know.
Right. Yeah. And I wanted to pull that out because we have to let people know sometimes the struggles that we go through, and some people say that's a mistake. No, that is a beginning. You see, the mistake was the beginning of your righteousness. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So out of that, something else came. You see what I'm saying? And still coming. You see what I'm saying? So it was a rough road, and I'm not gonna say like everybody say, God ain't gonna do nothing to you no more than you can bear and all that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So, but what I'm saying is that it show, they do say that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is this.
They haven't experienced anything.
Right. But see, what I'm saying is that even under the conditions that you was in, you made something good out of it. And to be real with you, the spark was the book, but it was in you anyway. You see. So the cultivation was by the book and the words of the book. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because see, when I read that book myself, I see him with this big book. Like I see the book like, but this big. And when that Uncle Tom, the senator, right? Yeah. When he got on the train and he looked at, boy, in a book like that. And I like, wow, he must got a real big book. But the book was he didn't think he could understand the book. Yeah. I should be able to reading the book from that point of view. You know what I'm saying? Right. That was a very good book. So, but in the depths of that madness, you found calm, right?
Yeah.
Because like you say, you didn't go to the hoop. Tell your story.
Yeah. So no, I didn't go to the I didn't go to the basketball court. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to the courtyard like most people. I spent the majority of my time going to the library. Every chance I figured out ways to go to the library. I would just create situations to ask the officers, can I go to the library, to get into the library? Because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be as Dixon. So I began to read, and I began to read, and then I started finding, through my reading, I began to find other influential African people who impacted our lives. So I began to find Malcolm X. I began to find Marcus Garvey. I began to find Frank Fanon. And when I found these men, they began to resurrect me. I began to find a Naeem Akbar, a Cheikh Joke, Chancellor Williams. I found all of these men in prison, and they done something for me.
Now, you say you started, and I like that part of it. So you started with the age section, right? Man, and that so happened to be Africa, right? Yeah. Africa is A, right? Yeah. So now, when you started reading about Africa, did the passion of the love, you like, wow, I didn't know this, or a bigger respect for Africa that you didn't know? When did the passion come in? Because see, we all had to have that time of passion come in. You see what I'm saying?
The passion came for me. The passion came for me when I read From Superman to Man, and it opened me up. Yeah. And then when I began to read these other things, because what I learned is this: I didn't just read to be reading. I read because I wanted to understand something. Right. I wanted to be as Dixon. Dixon understood. So he was able to listen to the European, then answer. So I wanted to be that way.
Sure.
So I said, I need to understand. And so once I began to understand, I became angry because I realized that I was set up and tricked into incarceration. So my passion began with anger.
Exactly.
I was angry at the system.
Right.
For tricking me.
That's right.
That's what my passion was.
Right.
And so I realized, so I started lashing out. Then I started finding myself on lockup, constantly on lockup, because I controlled the anger. And so I continued to read while I was on lockup. And then I read Malcolm X. Then I read George Jackson. When I read George Jackson, Blood in My Eye and Soul Dead Brothers, that's when I began to realize that I got to tame and calm and soothe the anger, not extinguish it. I still have the anger, but I learned how to utilize it as an instrument. Right. And then it transformed into purpose. Right. So then it came like that. Right. So my passion came from hurt. It came from anger. And then there's purpose. And my purpose is infused with two forces. My purpose is infused with love and anger. But anger does not dictate, nor does it direct my actions. Right. Everything I do is done out of love, but anger is there.
Well, it have to be there. Yeah. And no question about it. I say one who have never been angered and never even came through the revolution.
That's right.
The revolution of psyche within your own mind. You see, because I myself, I hated with a big H the European. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And I really did hate them. Because exactly what you say, I was tricked, I was lied to into the situation. I wasn't incarcerated, but still incarcerated.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? I had a bigger jail cell. You know what I'm saying? So then you say George Jackson taught you how to tame it down. And that's funny. I have a grandson who's incarcerated. And he told me just this week that he was reading George Jackson. And I was like, wow. And when you brought it up to me just now, that reminded me of that. That's all right though. So that's a good thing then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And see, this I think this is very interesting because and important because see, sometimes people don't realize what blacks have to go through just to become a revolutionary mind and conscious. You see, they think we just woke up one day and we decided it was going to be this. It's a growth, right, brother? You see what I'm saying? I mean, like, say for instance, the way that you was thinking before you got incarcerated, right, was off the wall, right? Yes. Everything that you particularly probably looked at TV on or seen in a movie on or something like that, right? Something kind of influence, right? Yes. And see, so this, when you was inside, you said, wow, I didn't even have to go through all this if I knew this, right? So it show you the education that we really do need. And I understand your grant, you know, how you standing tall on us being us.
Yes.
No imitation. Stop imitating. That's and right. Then just be us, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's the key. And it, like I said, I realized all this through studying and paying attention to the ancestors. And I realized that this whole thing is about us understanding who we are.
Right.
And this grand confusion that we are floating in an orbit of confusion as a people. And we will remain in that orbit of confusion until we come to realize who we are. Right. And most of us are never going to come to that realization because we're not going to sit down and take the time to figure that out. Most of us believe because we know our name and know our address that we know who we are. Most of us believe that. And we're going to go through life thinking we know who we are. Yes. Right? Yes. And we also believe that our intellect is going to get us somewhere. Right. So a lot of us are just never going to get it. That's okay. However, for those of us that understand the degree of the madness that we have to contend with, it becomes a duty and a responsibility to raise up understanding.
Right.
To raise up understanding, we have to aid individuals in the process of understanding who we are and what we descend from. We don't have a clue. And that's the reason why we as a people in a lot of instances, not in all, right? Not in all, but in some instances, our performance isn't as great as it can be. And that's due to not knowing who we are. Right. Because we don't understand what we come from, what we have done. We don't understand the heights that we have risen as a people, the greatness, the magnitude of our greatness. We don't have a clue of that. Right. And when you give a people that type of understanding of themselves or allow them to come into that type of knowledge about themselves that does something to their confidence instantly. And when that confidence is built up inside of a people, then they begin to go beyond. Right now, we won't go outside our neighborhoods. We don't go outside our cities. We don't go outside our states. We don't understand the reason why. Right? Travel broadens awareness. That's what Malcolm X teaches us. Okay. You know, he tells us that if you travel, it broadens your awareness. You get a chance to see things differently, interact with different people, and you get the chance to see different dialects and things of that nature, right? Different local norms and customs. And it helps you understand that the world is different. It moves a certain way. Right. But at the same time, it broadens who you are. And being broad in terms of how you think and how you perceive the world allow you to respond and react to situations differently because it gives you different options. Right. So right now, when you think about it, we say, well, we got to stop the violence. Do you know how long we've been saying that? We constantly say that. We got to stop the violence. We're going to always be saying we got to stop the violence until we understand what's producing the violence. Right. Right. Exactly. What we do is this. Well, those thugs out there, those gangbangers, we point the finger. Right. Now, I don't point the finger because those individuals who you point the finger at are no different than the people that's starving us. Right. So we think that violence is one-dimensional. We don't understand political violence and economic violence. Right. You know what I'm saying? If you starve a people, right? You think hunger isn't violent? You don't think that hunger pains people feel that they hurt? Right. That's violence. Right. You don't think that mass miseducation isn't violent? Exactly. Do you understand the destruction it does to the mind of a people? That's violence. Right. But we think it's one dimension. We think violence is only physical. We think it's only carrying a gun, using a baseball bat, using a knife. We think that's the only degree of violence, right? And that's the only thing we focus on. No. Right. That's one of the lowest, most deformed degrees of violence. We got to focus on those high levels of violence, right? Where you're impacting an entire race of people violently. Right. Over centuries. That's more violent. You know what I'm saying? Sophisticated, bro. Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you can call in on 410-989-5557. We're talking to and call in and talk to Brother Imhotep, who is the urban philosopher. He's throwing down the night, ladies and gentlemen. And I think all your points so far, I have nothing to argue with him because, you know, and I heard somewhere you say you study all of the revolutionaries just about that happened in this book, right, which is the New African Revolutionary Vanguard. That the central theme of this book is revolution. But there's a piece in here that I added. It's called Revolutionary Quotables. And so, and that's at the back of the book. But it's about 85 different revolutionaries. And there a section for African and non-Africans. But I use specific quotes just to highlight the depth of the study so people can understand. But as I put the book together, when I deal with urban warfare and the urban guerrilla, you'll see the different revolutionaries that I quote to give credence to the things that I'm saying and the points that I raise because we have to understand it. And so what I came to realize through studying is that what we define as being the struggle or the sovereignty movement or the Black liberation movement, it's its own discipline. It's no different than the discipline of psychology or the discipline of political science or sociology. The same as those disciplines require that you study them to understand how to execute, this requires the same. The same way if you go into psychology, you're not going to get a degree in psychology without having studied previous psychologists. You're not going to get a degree in any other discipline without studying the pioneers to that discipline. So why do we think we can talk about revolution and have no clue about what revolution is? Right. Have not studied a single revolution. Right, exactly. That's the problem. Right. We move and we do things ignorantly. Let me share this for a second. Okay, go ahead. Real fast. Take your time. It's like you have a song. Okay. This is a French guy. You know what I'm saying? His name is Regis Debray. Without preparation, action is suicidal. And that's why we don't get anything done. Right. because we're not studying, we're not equipping ourselves, we're not preparing ourselves. We're just angry and mad, and we're just running out there.
And most of that is emotion.
Yeah.
The biggest
And we're
part
just
is
running out there,
we're emotional people. And you say we have a call?
Yeah, I think that's brother saying Kofi.
Okay, all right.
Brother saying Kofi, you got something?
Yes. A peace and power for Baba, for the Imhotep, Mr. Saw. A question. I know earlier on you mentioned for the Imhotep about confusion and our people being in a state of confusion, and confusion leads to us getting effective in our endeavors and what we strive to do. Could you speak for a moment on ideological clarity? I know you deal with that in your second book, The Politics of the Urban Struggle. But one of the things that I've noticed is, a lot of arguing, a lot of confusion, a lot of disorder, discord is because we lack ideological clarity. We're not grounded. And arguing in and of itself is not a bad thing, but I think we do it oftentimes unnecessarily because we're unclear. So could you speak to that, my brother?
Yes. Great question, actually, because to get to what I'm speaking about in the Green Book and the things that I lay out in the Green Book requires a great deal of ideological clarity, because the oppressor is ideologically clear in terms of exploitation and oppression. So there's no confusion as to whether or not African people should be exploited. They don't sit around and debate that. They don't sit around and ask, should we exploit them? They just exploit us, and they're all clear on that, ideological point. So for African people, this is what I'm projecting. This is what I believe from my studies and my work and my research. I believe that the only position that we should stand on is a position that grounds and roots us in Africa. Now, we can say African-centered, we can say Pan-Africanism, we can say African nationalism, which is an extension of Black nationalism. I'm just, I'm subbing out Black with Africa for the most part. But we can call it whatever we want to call it, but it has to be grounded and rooted in Africa. And from that base, the way in which we perceive the world, which is our world view, has to emanate from Africa. And if all of us are standing in Africa, when we look into the world, then our world views will be similar. We may come from different angles, but we will see similarly the same thing. That in and of itself will produce ideological clarity over time, because it allows us to start from a basic premise that's the same. If our premise is the same, if our beginning is the same, then how we end up will be the same. Oftentimes, we end up in confusion because all of us are starting from a different place. Some of us not even in Africa. Some of us are still in Asia, the Asiatic Black man. We got to get past that. We're still standing in Asia. Right? And then some of us not even in Asia. We still standing in this thing they call, we on Turtle Island. You know what I'm saying? With the natives called this place over here. Right. Some of us still standing there. So we have to do the work, do the research, do the studies, and we have to go back to our ancestral land and stand there. And that will produce ideological clarity, because from ideological clarity logically grows ideological solidarity. And when we are solid in terms of our ideology, then we are politically clear, because everything we up against is political, and we have to be politically clear. And that's going to come from ideological solidarity.
I say. That's right. Brother Sankofa?
All right, thank you, my brother.
Okay. All right, Brother Sankofa, thank you for that. And that's a good outtake, but now I have a question for you. See, we when we are when we're in this condition with our people, and we trying to bring some light to our people, you heard so many such things that you said just now to divide us. And I say to myself, so we are not Black, we're not Jews, you know what I'm saying? We get all these divisions, and then the main one say, y'all not even Africans. You see what I'm saying? And this is just play on, and that's another part of strategy, I think, to keep us down and divided. You understand what I'm saying? Because, like, say for instance, if you say you black to a certain organization, they would really, hey, look, you ain't doing the work. We discussing black all day long. What is black? And we got a whole book on why we shouldn't be called black. You understand what I'm saying? Or you got one that say that the Hebrews that say they're not Africans, right? They are Jews, but they believe in Africa, but they know history. I mean, it's just confusion. You see what I'm saying? So in all that chaos, what do you think about that? And I know you heard that I know you've heard it.
Yes, I've heard a lot of that. Me personally, I think it becomes a misuse of energy,
right?
Because it's Dr. Martin Luther King made a statement one time. I'm a paraphrase his statement because I'm not going to get it. I don't want to mess his quote up. And he talked about conscientious stupidity and sincere ignorance. He said that's the most dangerous thing in the world. And that's what we have.
Right.
We have, because there's no way, if you apply yourself to simple and basic research, that you cannot arrive at the conclusion that people of African descent descend from Africa.
Right.
If you just apply yourself to simple research, we are in the year, quote unquote, 2017. This information is available today. If you sit down and, and allow yourself to just read a little bit of any one of the quote unquote historians out there today, you arrive at this conclusion. They don't hide that anymore.
Right. But see, it's such of a thing that when a person heard something, they don't really believe it. I mean, because I listen to the Hebrews. I mean, man, I listened to them argue the story down to the bone, right? And I was like, where do these people come from? You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, because now you just made the comment of if you read a little bit of history, like if you know about leaky, right?
Yeah.
And with the bones, with the carbon and all that kind of stuff, you will find out that all things existed, came and was born out of the continent of Archipelago, Africa, or whatever, right? So with that said, what else should be said? Do I need to know what part of Africa I came from to know that my blood rises in Africa? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and these type of things, to me, again, is chaos. And that's part of a revolutionary strategy of the European ignorance, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be you don't want to be black. I would listen to a sister on a radio show, and she was real dark. And they asked her, how did she feel about being dark? Was she the darkest one in the family? You see what I'm saying? So all these things are division within us, right?
I tend not to give that type of stuff any energy because I don't have time for it. Because my mission and purpose is bigger and greater than that.
Right.
So I'm not going to misuse my time. I know who I am. I know who my people are. Right. So I'm not in the business of convincing anybody.
So those right there, they just put them aside, right?
Because I have enough. The Elijah Muhammad made a statement. He said that if you listen to a person sincerely and clearly for 20 minutes, he said you can assess who they are. And that's what I do. See, once I listen to you for 20 minutes and you convince me that you believe in your foolishness, that's all that it takes. I'm not going to fight that. So once you convince me that you really believe in your foolishness, you can have it.
Now, wait a minute. You can't give up so easy. There's some now, no. There's some of them you might say, well, that 20 minutes, he might get a piece of it.
But see, I like that because that's someone else's mission. Yeah, that's not mine.
Okay, I heard that.
That's what we got to realize. We all got to know
mission, right?
Our role in this. You see, my role is to fight for us sincerely and work for us sincerely, right? But I'm looking for the receptive. I'm looking for the receptive, and I'm open for the confused individual who's receptive.
Right.
So you can be confused 10 times over. Right. But if you're receptive and humble, I can work with you. Right. But like Dr. King said, if you are conscientiously, you know what I'm saying, stupid and sincerely ignorant, and you know what I'm saying, you are convicted to that, you can have that. Right. Okay. I have no energy for you.
Right. I feel you. Yeah. I feel you. Since I got older, I feel like that now. Yeah. But because I used to take a baseball bat and try to beat it into you, and that was my job.
That was your time, you know.
You see what I'm saying? Seriously, and I like that because I was on the same path with books. I didn't have time to read if it wasn't real, if it wasn't, you know, what you call fictional books. I didn't read them. I had time. I was like, that's right. Yeah. And I think the only one I got close to reading was Nathan Hughes, but that was in a roundabout real way, just to be simple. You understand what I'm saying? But he was bringing knowledge with it. Yes, sir. So all right, my brother. So when you let's go forward a little bit more in your life. You married?
Yes.
Children?
I have 5 children.
How many?
I have 5 children.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
Boys, girls?
I have 4 boys and 1 girl.
I heard that.
A 28-year-old son, 26-year-old son, 25-year-old daughter, 4-year-old son, and I have a son that's 2 months old.
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 45.
Oh, young starter.
Yes.
That's all right. Starter. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. So when you had your first child, how old were you? I know I'm twisted a little bit now.
Yeah, I think I was like 17, I think, when he was born. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was 17 when he was born.
Okay. And you took care of your son? It was a son? Daughter?
No, actually,
a daughter.
He was a son. No,
okay.
Actually, when he was born during a time period when I was in the street life real heavy.
Okay.
So he was born during a time period when the old me, I was caught up in this street war.
Okay.
So I got shot real bad. I was paralyzed for a while. I got shot in my back 2 times.
Wow.
With a 45 and a 357. And so so I wasn't able to interact in his life due to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I got some form of mobility, you know, foolishly, insane, ignorant, I went back into the streets. And then I caught 20 years. And I went away for 14 years. When I came back out of prison, my oldest son was 16.
Okay.
And I engaged him at that point, which he was extremely angry and mad because his father wasn't around. So he and I went through a major struggle from the time when he was 16 up until the time he was 26. You know, now we're on excellent times because it took all that time for me to tolerate and absorb all his blows. I had to take everything he gave me, everything he dished out. I had to take that. I couldn't get upset. I had patience for my son, so I never gave up on him. I never made him feel like he was unjust and unleashing his anger upon me. He unleashed a lot of anger on me, but I was able to absorb it, and eventually he was able to get at a better place. And now we great.
That's good.
But I would say this though. In the entire time of those 10 years, I was always introducing this knowledge, and it kind of shocked me because one day, 2 years ago, I get an inbox from this guy from New Jersey who I never even met before, and he was asking me about the movement in the struggle, and I was curious, like, who this guy is, and why he asked me these questions. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Your son Kawan told me about you and told me you on his time," and I never thought my son ever paid me any attention. You know,
that's good.
But he did it, you know, in his own way.
My laughter is not laughter.
I know it's okay with it. I'm not one of those guys.
But that show you when you think they're not listening, they listen.
You know?
Yeah.
And I want to share this just for for parents and fathers who may make mistakes in their lives, and you are removed for a time period, and you may come back in your child's life, and you think just because you are the father that he or she should just get in line. It doesn't always work that way, but it's the duty of the parent to fix the relationship with the child. It's never the child's duty to fix the relationship with the parent. And oftentimes we so twisted from being in this land, we get in our own emotions and our own feelings. We tend to shun out the child because we think the child's been unreasonable at sometimes. No, it's the duty of the parent to repair the relationship with the child. It's the parent's duty to do that. And if it takes you 10 years to fix that relationship, then let it take 10 years to fix the relationship, but fix the relationship.
Right.
So it took us 10 years.
That's all right. Right.
Man, this joker used to battle.
I'm glad you didn't use 20 minutes on him.
No, he got more than 20.
I know that. We got somebody on the line.
Well, no, I was going to say, can y'all hear me?
I hear you well.
Peace. All right, so I was going to say, when you're speaking of that reparation process with your son and your children, you know, after going through the bit and everything, it remind me of Dr. Ragland's book, and he has a section on, you know, that very topic. Yeah.
That's excellent. I never read that one. I know someone else told me that because I made mention of my story, and they said the same thing.
Yeah, so he has the whole therapeutic process of, you know, I mean, it's a good book, and he talks of, and it puts those who are coming home in a mindset. You can't come home and act like you're like you've been there for 20 years and you haven't been there for 20, you know. So you have to go through that process.
Oh, you talking Brother Ali?
Yeah, Brother Ali.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yes, I read it. I have his book. Yes.
On the book is Dr. Max.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. So excellent book.
Yeah.
Great book.
Okay.
Transitional therapy. That's his model.
Right.
You know, and it's a beautiful model.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about?
Please.
So the new, I mean, because I gotta ask the question. It may not even go where I'm going, but I know when people saw this new African Revolutionary Vanguard with all the things that's going on out there in the world, YouTube world, and social media world, people want to know, what is this new African Revolutionary Vanguard? My father says my favorite question is, what does that look like? Okay. You know, and you know.
So the new African Revolutionary Vanguard is nothing more than an African revolutionary. I placed new there to create this concept because what I'm doing in my work, I want to make a distinction. So I don't want people to lump me nor my organization in the basket with all this other junk that's taking place. Right. And so the way that in my mind, I said it need to be some type of signature mark and some type of distinction so people will know that, hey, they're different. Mm-hmm. So the new African Revolutionary Vanguard becomes a criterion in a sense that lays out behavior characteristics, protocols, what we should and should not do, how we should be. It has field orders in here. It's a handbook, if you will, that gives you instructions in terms of how to be this African revolutionary that we always talk about. Whether you're saying you Pan-Africanist or African-centered, and here I'm laying out things for you. Like, I'll give you a great example. Like, in here, I put together what I define as being field orders. And so these field orders, it's 45 of them. These just what I thought of, that I thought was instrumental to help people to get an understanding of how to behave when we're doing this work. And one of the things I like to point out that's a big issue with us, and I like to point this out a lot of times, is number 11. The 11th field order says, do not use drugs and alcohol. Because that's a problem. See, that's a problem, and no one want to call that out. We want to talk Africa. We want to talk liberation. We want to use these poisons, right, that impairs your faculties. You cannot win a war if you're not thinking straight.
Right.
You can't get in the ring intoxicated and win.
Right.
You can't get in the ring with someone that's comparable in your skill set in terms of fighting, and they're in a clear mind, and you're intoxicated. You're gonna get demolished.
Absolutely.
And so in here, I speak about that. You know, that's a field order. You can't use that stuff.
Right.
But we still want to use the white man's drugs. We still want to use white man's drugs, and we try to use history to justify the use thereof. No.
I was about to, you know why? It's crazy because that's when, of course, you know, we work closely together. That here is also, we suggest that is a demand that we don't do drugs here at the Temple of New African Thought, right? Yeah. And the thing is, you know, one of the brothers came up to me and said, well, when I'm reading the ancient Egyptian scriptures, it's always speaking about be merry and drink beer, you know. So I gave him the same exact thing. Different times call for different actions, you know what I'm trying to say.
And another thing that we don't realize is that even in the terminology beer, if you were able to drink what they were drinking,
right,
it was not composed of the same substance that we're drinking today. Even if you look the word beer up and trace it back, you'll see it's not malt liquor.
Malt liquor.
It's not this junk that we're drinking today. You know, so we need to understand it. But the problem is this: it's a lack of discipline. So because we lack discipline, we're always trying to justify being indisciplined. So we look for ways to justify being indisciplined. We have to raise the standard in terms of the behavior and the characteristic of those that's in the struggle. Because part of the work that we're doing is not just fighting the European. That's only a part of it. Part of our work is also restoration of us.
Right.
Because we have been damaged.
Yes.
We tend to leave that part out. We think it's all about bang, 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 the European. We think that's it. You know what I'm saying? No, we have been destroyed on so many levels that we need healing. And part of the healing has to do with us becoming more strong in terms of our discipline. We need psychological balance. We need social transformation. We need political awareness. We need economic understanding. We need financial literacy. We need all these things that we don't have. And you're not going to get those skill sets if you're walking around drunk and high.
No. You become lazy as well. In fact, one of the things I realized is, okay, Bob?
Yeah.
One thing is I realized in counseling, right? And I see my sister, Dr. Yaya, on, and I know she can attest to this, as counseling youth and people in general, self-medication never came but more real. That a lot of times we are really trying to medicate ourselves, with the drugs, the alcohol, all this type of thing. I mean, really trying to deal with the trauma, and it's not going to work. It makes situations worse.
It makes that's largely why most of us get high. It's because we're trying to escape the reality of the pain, and because we are living within trauma and we are hurt and wounded, we are trying to not deal with those wounds. And that's the reason why there's so much confusion within the movement, because we bring this trauma and these learned pathologies into the movement. But we have to start thinking in terms of healing. And part of that is mental health. I don't like to use the terminology mental health, but I'm going to use it for clarity's sake in this discussion. We have to move towards thinking in terms of healing us inside the mind. We have to heal our minds. We're not doing that. So one of the things I talk about here in the New Revolutionary Vanguard, and I do it early on in the book, is I talk about essential characteristics of an African Revolutionary Vanguard. And I'm just humble, obedient, disciplined, selfless, intrepid, courteous, smart, alert, responsible, serious, confident, integrity, and centered. These are characteristics. And one of the things I'm saying as well is I make it very clear, and I'll read this passage. In addition to these characteristics that I just named, a new African Revolutionary Vanguard cannot, listen to what I say, cannot suffer from gender confusion, nor can he or she be sexually misoriented. There is no such thing as a homosexual, bisexual, transsexual, lesbian, transgender, or pedophitic African revolutionary. No such thing. And we need to call it out very early on and deal with it. There's no such thing as that. I'm going to tell you why I say that. Because when we say African revolutionary or Pan-Africanist, we are talking about practicing the ways of Africa. Africa, prior to any invasion, is child-centered and life-centered. So any behaviors that obstructs that cannot be of us.
So you saying that really a brother can't come home and pull himself a little glass of wine and don't get drunk?
I'll say this. We need to be clean.
I mean, no, I understand what you're saying now, but we got to look at reality also. You see what I'm saying? Not because this is the Western world. Wine been around since time. Alcohol been around since time. Drugs been around forever. You understand what I'm saying? So in reality, I'm not saying that you should do these things might happen to you, but in reality, if a man, like for instance, my father, he used to drink. And when I say drink, he took a glass of liquor a day. One shot, for real, one shot a day. He was an old railroad man. And this is something he always had, he used to do. You see what I'm saying? So would that knock him out of the box for that? I mean, like say for instance, they say a little wine is good for your. I'm just going on the opposite road on you for.
I understand.
You see what I'm saying?
And the reason why I say what I say is because the moment we introduce quantity, then we open the arena for debates on why your quantity got to be the acceptable amount that we stop at. That opens the gate for that. So if I'm saying we can have a glass a day, then another person gonna say, why can't I do 2 glasses a day?
No, you shouldn't have to be tell a grown man what to do, how many glasses to have,
what I'm saying.
or a grown woman. But because some of the fact is that if you're dealing with an alcoholic, all right, an alcoholic will be really drunk. You see what I'm saying? If you're dealing with a sister or a brother that's gonna take just a glass of wine to calm down his nerves, like some people take pills, you see what I'm saying, or to go to sleep. You never know why one should take a drink or not have a drink. You see what I'm saying? I don't drink. I used to drink. You see what I'm saying? But I'm not arguing the point about drinking. I'm just saying in reality, I mean, we talk about a revolution and you talk about reality. You talk about reality. You're going to have people going home and thinking shameful of themselves. Not, you know what I'm saying? Because, I know brother Imhotep said don't. But shit, I'm going to have this tonight. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to happen.
Do you know how many people, and I'm not even a fan of the Nation of Islam, but do you know how many people the Nation of Islam cleaned up?
And I know how many people still drink.
I know, but they cleaned up. They cleaned up
I understand. They did.
They cleaned up a lot, right?
The brother did a job that was magnificent.
They cleaned up a lot.
Yeah, he did.
So we have to, at some point, we have to create
a gauge.
We got to create standards, right?
Okay.
So this would like to argue also. So in the 1800s, we talking about from the time period of 1826 up until like 1878. Mm-hmm. So we had what is known as the Black abolitionists. So when I studied that time period, the Black abolitionists instituted this thing called the temperance movement. Now you can look this up, you can research this. This is reality. And one of the things I talk about here is I say the revolution is based in realism. I speak about that. This is what our ancestors said. Our ancestors equated the use of alcohol with slavery in the temperance movement. It was outlawed. So the abolitionists knew something, because the abolitionists, they were closer to our ancestors than we are. We're further removed. So if they understood in the 1800s that it would not be wise if we use it as a people, right? Because the potential for it to metastasize and get out of control, right? That's the potential of it. It's best to just outlaw it, right? I'm not saying that a person can't come to me using this. I'm saying at some point, he or she has to move to the point where they're ready to become something better than that. You're not locked out because you use drugs.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I once used drugs, so I don't condemn them for it. It's about being able and willing to evolve past it, not trying to constantly justify the use thereof. Because if we open the door for it, that's like me saying, well, we're going to look at the Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
The Black Panthers are a great example, and they are my heroes. The 4 individuals who inspired me after Dixon, the real life individuals, is Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, George Jackson, and Huey P. Newton. So I read Huey P. Newton, To Die for the People, Revolutionary Suicide, Seize the Time, The Panthers Speak, The Other Side of this, the Other Side of the Panthers, Other Side of Glory, The Panthers Revisited, studied the Panthers, right? A great mistake was the use of drugs and alcohol.
You know, if I can, I like to bring it back even closer to my father, right? Because one thing he told me, a lot of brothers here in Baltimore, if I can talk on that.
Go ahead.
Here in Baltimore, that was in the movement, who were the brightest minds, who were the sharpest people, he started to see their movements fall apart all over for using drugs and drinking.
Heroin.
Yeah,
heroin was, and they had and some of them that was shooting up, they were like geniuses.
And we know these people, of course.
See, that's the whole thing. So my work and what I am trying to do, I'm trying to elevate us beyond it and I'm trying to create some type of standard that we can agree upon. So that's what this is about. So I'm not saying that a person has to be this instantly, but this becomes something a person can look at and begin to gauge him or herself and say, wow, it makes sense. Like physical fitness. We need to be physically fit.
Right.
So talk about that.
Right. Okay, now say for instance, a homosexual. Want to get it on your group?
I'll say this right here.
his whole face twisted on that one. And he was a little bit more lean on alcohol.
Oh man.
I'll say this.
Yes, because our organization also has to be families. And we got to keep in mind that we have children and babies. So I want my son and my sons to emulate African men who exemplify, African characteristics. So if a person came to me in confidence and he was struggling or she was struggling in such a way and they revealed that they wanted to overcome and I sensed that it was genuine, then I would work with them to move beyond it.
How do you overcome?
I've had conversations with individuals who wanted to move out the lifestyle. I know people who were socialized that way. I know people who didn't just wake up and choose it, and I know people who don't think they was born that way. I know people who was literally raped and it kind of bothered them and they moved.
Oh yes.
So I'm saying those individuals, not the ones that's trying to justify being crazy. I'm just saying people who acknowledge I was hurt. And because of my hurt, I responded wrong. But I don't like this. I need some help. I'm saying I'm willing to work with them.
Okay. All right. So the answer is no.
Brother says here, discipline isn't in abstaining, it's in restraint. Knowing the limit. What do you think about that?
Knowing the limit.
Yeah. that's Low St. Child. I know Low St. Child pretty popular on the board, right? Yeah. I can't remember.
But so that's the whole point, right? So even in that statement, which I understand, but it still open the door for someone to define what the limit is. And then you always gonna have that debate. You're always gonna have the other individual that's trying to justify doing more. So why even introduce it? So even if we sat down and say you got your 12-man team or you got 6 women, 6 men, and we say, well, this is what the limit is going to be. All right. Organizationally, we each can have, hypothetically speaking, we each can have a beer a day. And on Saturdays and Sundays, you can drink a little Hennessy. Right? That's what we're going to agree to. That's the limit. So now you're doing this for 3 or 4 years. You're bringing people in. But you're going to have other individuals who want to know, well, why is just a beer a day? Why can't it be 2 beers a day? And why can't I have some Henny and some Jack on Saturdays and Sundays? So then you got to deal with that. Right. Then, you know what I'm saying? So why even try to create limits, right? When we know that the substance itself, you know what I'm saying, have worked against us as a people. When we know that, if we are studying, if you study the history, we know that right now where we are at, right, we don't need self-medication. If you want to get high, study your ancestors. Learn who you are, and you can get high.
Okay, that was a question off there. Right. All right, so now let's get off the alcohol.
Okay.
All right, now let's get on the homosexuals. All right. No, but I got to do this because I had a buddy. No, for real, I had a buddy, and he was in the military.
Yes.
And we was talking about homosexuals, you know, and this homosexual really saved his life. Actually saved his life. Okay, so we got a brother or a sister that's happen to be gay, but they are pro-black. Don't drink, don't do nothing for the cause. You know what I'm saying? Coming in with a plan. We got use for them?
I think yes, they got it's a role for them. I think it's a role for I think it's a role for everyone, right?
Yeah,
but it's no role for them directly inside my organizational structure. They can support, because I do have supporters that have alternative lifestyles, if you want to define it that way. So you can support, you can donate, you can do all the wonderful things, and you can be pro-black and be like that. I do believe that on some levels. However, right, I think that we need community and we need family. I think it further confuses us if we allow our young boys to see men with men. I don't think that's healthy for us. So I have to guard the minds of the babies that surround me. I got to guard their minds. I'm not going to condemn the person. I'm not going to throw rocks at them. Not going to do that. But in my space, which is my organization, this is just my rule and regulation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's it.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, I really understand that too, because like when the boy talk about 2 daddies and 2 mamas, how you explain that?
I don't want to try to explain
Right, exactly.
And go insane trying to explain insane stuff.
Okay, so now, what do you think? I mean, you said a lot tonight. So, what revolutionary system that you have came about, or even put them all together, do you think is basically at this time and day, that structurally can help us lift ourselves up?
I think great question. So what I'm doing, what I've been doing is building this model And for me, the model is family. I think that if I don't have my black book, but in my black book, I talk about building a core. And I say that the first thing we need to do, organizations, build a core. And the core is, it's a small set of individuals who are convicted to the ideology and who have demonstrated a certain level of commitment to what you're trying to do. So from that core, you begin to organize around them. But the core should become family. So I think that we need a model that's family-centered. And based on the family-centered model, we mobilize our economics around that. And all the funds that we need to build the things we're going to build should come from that family structure that we're building. So we got to re-socialize ourselves through becoming re-Africanized. So I think that's what we should do. And I say that because that's what I am doing with PLM, and I see the successes that we are having. The same way with the Grub Factory that we're about to open up, our vegan restaurant. That's going to be headed up and ran by Brother Harani, Brother Haru, and some other individuals, but it's not owned by Harani and Haru. It's owned by us. That's the same with our youth organization. It's hit by certain individuals, but it's not owned by them. It's owned by us. And I think it's the family we have to get back to. And I think the more we move back to understanding how the African family conducted itself in terms of building its community, that's what's going to move us forward. Yeah. Think about the Zulus. See, the Zulu nation came from what? Being just a small family for the most part, if you will. Then it became the Zulus. If you think about the 18th dynasty with Tutmosis III, that was a family that dealt with, you know what I'm saying? If you think about when we dealt with the Hyksos coming out of the 17th dynasty, coming to the 18th dynasty, things like that, that was families that did that. If you really look at us as a people, when we was really pushing forward, it was families in the forefront of pushing forward. You know what I'm saying? Queen Nzinga came from out of a family. Right. Yaya Satiwa was a family. You know what I'm saying? So just looking at history, it tells us, even if you look at what the Black Liberation Army was attempting to do with the Shakurs, it was building a family, if you will. Family is the key. It's family. We have to our organizational structures need to become families. Right.
And I agree with that totally too. One of the first families that I really do, I always talk about is the Twa family. Yeah. The structure that they had in there. If we can get that far back with that structure, we'll be a long way coming. You see what I'm saying? Because they had a system of love. That if a sister couldn't have a baby, they had Planned Parenthood where one sister would have a child and give it to her. You see what I'm saying? That's family. What you talking about? The building of one love, right? You see what I'm saying? And that's beautiful. What kind of restaurant y'all open up? I mean, if you want to speak on it.
Yeah, vegan restaurant. We specialize in. Our specialty is going to be sandwiches.
Now wait a minute. If I eat ham, can I join your organization?
You can't come get no ham. You can join. See, our organization is this. I will take you. We will take you. We will receive you. Dope fiend, alcoholic, criminal, whatever. You will be received. Okay. We ask of you to commit to our process of behavioral rectification to transform yourself.
That's
what we ask.
And that's what you need to hear. Because I go to say, because the church said, come here, people.
We take you as you are.
Right.
Because it will make me a hypocrite of the highest degree because I come from that. You know what I'm saying? So I used heroin before. You know what I'm saying? I sold dope in Baltimore City and carried guns, went to prison, and been hurt. And so then for me to try to emerge like I'm holier than thou and just casting the die on all our people, I don't do that. Right. What I ask of us is that we be willing and committed and receptive to change.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
And I'm not even telling you to change in 6 months. I'm saying just stay in this process and let the organizational see perpetual growth. That's all. Right. So you can come smoke on your Newports, Right. But at some point, just know that you got to put the Newport down.
And it's health also. Yes. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so do you said something about exercise?
Yeah, physical fitness. I talk about it in the book.
Okay. So what kind of organization? I mean, what kind of exercise y'all have? Well, y'all should be doing Tai Chi.
That's what we talking to you.
Can I ask them a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So earlier, they some people asked. I put a link into your website. I'm not sure if that was the right thing to do, but they wanted to know where they can get the book from.
The Green Book will be. They can pre-order it now, so they can pre-order it through the website, and once I make it available, which is what the day's date is? 26?
26.
So it's coming available in February. You know what I'm saying? So you can pre-order this book now, and then I'll ship it straight out to you in February.
Okay, brother.
But how about Amazon?
It'll be on Amazon. But
Okay.
Initially, if you want to get it immediately, it's best to just get it through me.
Yes.
Through my
Okay.
website.
Okay. Right.
Okay. And Israel Doctrine said, I don't know. He's going to be on our show a little later, but I don't know what he means. But he says that we've always running from that LBGT pro-black question. I don't know what he mean by that. But we only got 3 minutes left, bro. So.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. You want to? Well, no.
What's the brother name?
No, you get to answer the question. He covered on the show, so you can.
He coming on later, so you can call in and talk to him.
Brother need to Google me. I don't do no running, brother. I'm straight from I'm from Park Heights and Shirley. Look it up. My name was Antoine Terrain before I became Imhotep. I don't do no running. I believe not misusing time. My organization is geared towards the resurrection and the sovereignty of African people, right? I'm not in the business of trying to convince people that they need to behave a particular way, right? What I'm saying is that I got a structure set in place, and my structure is designed to build men and women because I'm focused on families. So that's the reason why I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm not running around trying to throw darts at them. I'm not trying to beat them up. They who they are. As long as they don't try to impose upon me, I have no problem with them. But I do not do any running. Make no mistake about that. I can accept and deal with anything as it come my way, because I'm not those individuals who went to college and got some information. I don't have a degree. I come through the mud, and I come from the gutter, and I come from the streets, and I know how to get down. I don't do any running, never have, and never will. But I know, and I got enough sense not to misuse my time trying to convince people who choose to live an alternative lifestyle that they living something wrong. I'm not wrong with that.
Well, he said, I'm not saying you're running that, but he's saying most people in the community run from that question.
I apologize, my brother. I love
you. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we got 2 minutes now, I guess. Yeah, with that being said,
get the book.
Yeah, get the book. Right.
Get the book. It's a beautiful book. It deals with a lot of things in this book. I deal with something most people not talking about.
And this is just one of the 2 books.
But I don't think you ever gave. I think I said I put the link in, but can you say it for the others who haven't seen that?
The website.
Yeah, the website.
www.thefirsturbanphilosopher.com.
And first is spelled out one ST.
One ST. Yeah. Thefirsturbanphilosopher.com. All one word. You can get the book.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a interesting show. I'm glad to bring the brother on. He's a strong brother. He's set in his ways, and that's a good thing, because you had to be set in your ways, and you had to hold these up.
Can you hold these up?
Yeah, you got to hold these up. Hold them straight up to the.
Like I got me with swirls in my hand. I got me holding swirls like this.
That's my warrior brother right here. He's a warrior, and if you come to him, you will get stuck because he ain't running. And that, with that said, thank you for joining us tonight on the Third Eye, getting out of the matrix and hope philosophy. Urban philosophy. If you want the book, you can look back on the show, get the book, or even call the brother or whatever. Get in touch with him, buy the book. Love y'all, peace and have grease. Assalamu alaikum, hamdulillah, rahmatu, aluta katanu.
Peace. What's up, brothers?
Peace, family. Tune in. Look for the next link. We're going to be having brother Israel Doctrine on. We're going to have a chat with brother, see what he's talking about. Look for the link. Check out consciousblackbusiness.com if you just want to listen. If you're listening through the radio, if you want to watch the video, you can go to our page as well. It doesn't matter. You can just go straight to YouTube, family. So peace and power until until a few minutes. We're going to switch over. So go ahead to that link. Peace and power.